Good afternoon and welcome to our TCCTA conversation today. Our Countdown to Convention series continues on. Today is the second webinar, and we're going to talk a little bit about our keynote speaker today, as well as about some of the other benefits that come with your TCCTA membership. My name is John Green with Association Member Benefits Advisors. I'm joined by your president this year, Patrick Gilbert, as well as Deanna Bockham, who is our representative for TCCTA with AMBA. Just a couple of quick housekeeping details before we get started. All participants are in a listen-only mode, and that means if you've got questions, please drop those into Q&A, and we can monitor that Q&A and answer those back to you, or if it's something that would be beneficial for everyone on the webinar today to hear, we'll answer that question out loud for you as well. We do record every one of these sessions. We put them out on the TCCTA website, as well as you can follow it through social media as well, and they'll be posted out there that you can refer to back in addition to that. You'll also notice this QR code here at the bottom right-hand corner. Grab your smartphone, have it handy, because we're going to show you how you can get more information on some of the conversations we talk about today. And then you can maximize your benefits of being a TCCTA member. So let's go ahead and get started today. And Patrick, we were talking before we got recording here that the convention is just a few weeks away now, and we're expecting close to 600 people there or more. But just a quick reminder, if you have not registered yet for the convention, I highly encourage you to do that beforehand, pre-register. Makes it so much easier to pick up your badge and makes your convention experience that much easier as well. So we're down now in Houston at the Westin Galleria in Westin Oaks, Houston at the Galleria. So a big shopping complex with two big hotels connected to it. So we're going to be in a pretty large environment, but a great environment to have a convention. So that starts at noon on Thursday, March the 2nd, whenever registration opens up. The exhibit hall opens up at 3:30. Then we've got a big banquet that night at 6:15. I'm going to let Patrick introduce the keynote speaker here in just a moment. And then lots of concurrent sessions and exhibits and continuing education, a way to break down in whatever discipline that you teach. It's an opportunity to join us and meet with your peers as well. So highly encourage you to get involved, get pre-registered for the convention. It's going to be a great, great time. So Patrick, tell me about our keynote speaker and what people can expect at the banquet on the 2nd.
John, and thanks to Amber for hosting this. So our keynote speaker is Mr. Gerald Booker. He works for the coordinating board, as we call it. He was our speaker last summer for Leading from the Middle, and he did such a great job. And I asked Richard, who's our executive director, I said, what do you think about him being our keynote speaker at the banquet? Because what he said at Leading from the Middle, everybody in TCCTA needs to hear that. Of course, Leading from the Middle is geared toward mid-level administrators, but I want everyone to hear from him. So Mr. Booker he was the Assistant Commissioner for College Readiness and Success, and he said a lot of things that made us think about college readiness and how we can get students to be college ready, and should students have to sit through a whole semester of a developmental course or co-requisite in order to become college ready, or are there other things we can do to directly help them in the areas in which they are needing assistance. But now he's the Assistant Deputy Commissioner for Academic and Workforce. And of course, this year we want to focus on, as we do every year, we want to focus on not just academics, but workforce also. So I'm really glad to have Mr. Booker, and I think he's going to be a great speaker. And please, you all, if you have not already, go ahead and get your banquet ticket. It's only $35, a great meal, great speaker, and we're celebrating 75 years. So you do not want to miss the banquet on Thursday.
Great, Patrick. Thank you. I know he'll also be kind of giving an update on Texas higher ed policy and, discussing kind of the 60 by 30 TX refresh and funding priorities as well. So it should be a pretty extensive conversation and a great opportunity to hear from some of the leaders at the state level. So thank you very much for introducing Gerald, and look forward to seeing him at the convention at the banquet on March the 2nd. Just a quick reminder, as a member of TCCTA, you have access to benefits, and these benefits come to you. Some of them are free, some of them are at a greatly reduced cost, but they kind of fill those gaps that are not covered by your college benefits. They're portable if you leave your college for whatever reason, and you can extend benefits for your parents or maybe for family members that have, that have aged out of your benefits at college as well. So you can talk about those. We really just want to kind of cover with you a little bit about two benefits in particular. One is your cancer benefits, as well as your long-term care benefits. And your cancer benefits, we're talking about this because the fact is that 1 in 2 men And 1 in 3 women will be diagnosed with cancer sometime in their lifetime. And for men, it's usually prostate cancer. For women, it's usually breast cancer. But this means, while you're teaching, there could be some expenses out of your pocket that are not covered by your medical plan. And when it comes to stroke and heart attack, it's significant cost for having a heart attack. About 800,000 people in America have a heart attack each year. And stroke is the 4th leading cause of death in America, but it's the #1 cause of a disability. So it's one of those things that you really need to pay attention to as an active educator, that you've got some protection out there. And thankfully, TCCTA and AMBA have partnered up to cover some of these things, because with a stroke, as we talked about from a disability standpoint, it can be $18,000 once you're discharged from the hospital to recover from a stroke, for medications, rehabilitation services. And a lot of these are not covered by major medical plans, or what we're seeing at the college level now is these high deductible plans that your school offers that have a pretty large out-of-pocket maximum that could be out of your pocket for expenses related to heart attack, cancer, and stroke. People think, well, gosh, my health plan is going to cover everything if I'm diagnosed with cancer. Well, the good news is we've got low copays usually, and there's a lot of variety of treatment plans, good networks out there, and the survival rates are increasing. But those co-insurance clauses are costly for longer hospital stays, sometimes with different specialists and specialized treatment, or treatment that is maybe experimental. Those things aren't covered. And then you get into situations where transportation costs aren't covered. Time off, if you've got to take time off and you run out of PTO or you can't teach a semester, those type of things aren't covered. And so the cost related to cancer can really add up. And the situation is really everybody pays. One of the things we've been noticing lately, especially with community college professors, is that your medical plan, while it has a good front end dollar payment, there's usually some out-of-pocket expenses later on, but we see some surprise medical billing with the networks. Oftentimes the doctor that you see is in network, but he may have a specialist that reads a scan, or you go to an outpatient therapy clinic after your cancer treatment. Those things can create what's called surprise medical billing. And usually some of these bills are $2,000 to $3,000 or more. Bottom line is, when it relates to cancer, we spend about $5.6 billion out of our pocket for these expenses. And that's money that's not paid for by your private care, not paid for by Medicare or anything like that at all. It comes right out of our pocket. And these are things such as transportation. Patrick and I live in the Houston area, and you have a great medical center in Houston. We see lots of people that come down here and they have to pay for hotels, they have to pay for flights, things like that. Those lodging expenses, those things are not covered by your major medical plans. Lost wages and income, secondary effects like you needing to have wigs and cosmetic items, things like that. Then if you've got kids at home that you're responsible for, having somebody take care of them while you are getting treatment, those are things you may not think about as far as your costs. It really adds up to 60% of all costs not related to or not covered in related healthcare expenses. And it can really eat into a budget to have cancer, much less the physical exhaustion that you go through with the treatment and the care and the worry about those things as well. The good news is AMBA and TCCTA have partnered up to have several cancer plans that are available to you. There are lump sum benefits that give you the ability to get $5,000 to $75,000 once you have diagnosed with a cancer. You can use the money any way you want to. They cover heart attacks and strokes as well. So you can use them in addition to your medical plans that you have through your school to cover deductibles, co-pays, co-insurance, things like that, prescription meds, transportation, childcare expenses. Or if you have to take a semester off and can't teach that semester, it can supplement your income and provide just to pay whatever expense you want to. It doesn't have to be related to anything related to your treatment. So again, it gives you the ability and peace of mind knowing that if something happens to me or one of my family members, I've got coverage. It's guaranteed renewable for life. If you leave the school for whatever reason, you can take this benefit with you. Again, as part of your membership in TCCTA. Is what we have available to you as well. I'll show you how you can get more information on that. If you've got questions, feel free to drop those into the Q&A feature as well. So again, as far as the cancer plans and the heart attack and stroke plans available to TCCTA members, you can use the money any way you want to. It's totally tax-free. You don't have to worry about paying taxes on this. It pays outside of any medical insurance, and it's very broad. So it's not just for cancer, heart attack, stroke, dread diseases, things like that that can happen. There's coverage for you. So again, it ensures that those things that your medical plan doesn't cover are taken care of, but it also gives you peace of mind knowing that if you have to drop a class or you can't teach a semester, you've got income coming in that can provide for you in the meantime. One of the other ways that TCCTA provides an option to protect your future is through long-term care insurance. And this whole concept of long-term care is somewhat misunderstood, but it really protects not only you, but it can protect your parents, it can protect your children and your future generations as well, because the impact of a long-term care need can be acute and can really cause impacts multi-generations down the road. I want to throw a quick pop quiz out there for you. I want you to write down 1 to 6 on a piece of paper. I want you to write down true or false to each one of these statements, that long-term disability and long-term care are the same thing. Very few people need extended long-term care. And really, if they do, only people over 50 are going to need long-term care. Or that nursing home confinement is the only long-term care option there is out there, or that Medicare or your health plan will pay for everything. And so therefore, I should just wait until I retire. So answer true to false for any one of those. I can tell you every one of these out here is false. We labor under the misconception sometimes, because we have a long-term disability plan provided for us by the school, that if I need care for a long period of time, that it's going to pay for my care. Your long-term disability plan really covers your compensation that you receive from the school. The long-term care plan would pay for the care that you receive. My father passed away a couple of years ago, spent the last 2 years of his life in a nursing home because of dementia. And I would notice in there that there were people under age 50 that were in the nursing home with him. He was 78 when he went in. And I would ask the nurses, what's the situation? They said, well, they had a traumatic brain injury due to a fall or an auto accident. And so you never know when you're going to need long-term care. So it doesn't apply just to those in their 70s or 80s. And we'll find out that Medicare, as well as private health care, does not cover most long-term care needs. But the fact is, regardless of what those answers were true and false, and they were all false, 70% of us are going to need some form of extended care in our lifetime once we reach age 65. And that could be from a result of a fall or an accident or dementia or some type of Alzheimer's, something like that, or just simply heart disease and arthritis. But the younger we are, sometimes it's less expensive and it's easier to qualify for a long-term care plan, and TCCTA provides that to you. No matter what happens though, when you need extended care, somebody has to pay. It's either coming out of your personal assets or savings that you've saved up all your life for your nest egg, or you seek assistance from family and friends. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. You enter maybe the Medicaid program, and I'll tell you that's very difficult to qualify for, or you have some form of extended care coverage that can provide you peace of mind knowing you're going to be taken care of the way you want to, where you want to. And as I mentioned, you never know when you're going to need it. As we age, you're less able to do things that you used to could do for yourselves. Or as I mentioned too, accidents and injuries happen at a younger age. And this, most of you on this call today are younger. You're not retired. You're active, you're working, but you don't know when an accident is going to happen. Something could happen that could cause a need out there. And that's why the TCCTA has stepped up to provide this type of plan, or several types of plans for you to protect. Because you don't know, as you talked about when you pay, you may not have the funds available when you need them. They may be in some type of individual retirement account or a 403B or a 457, something like that. And you have to sell assets and maybe trigger some tax consequences that not only are you taking money out now when the stock market's down, but it could result in loss of future earnings. Some people say, you know what, I'm going to just have Medicaid pay for it all. Medicaid is truly a limited program for people with very limited assets, a last resort program. You have to spend down all your assets, hide stuff, things like that. The state goes back and they look back 5 or 6 years and say, did you hide this money beforehand? Things like that. And then even after somebody passes away, Medicaid from the state comes back and tries to take it from your estate. So it's really not a great option for active educators, especially if you have some type of a pension or something like that. It's very difficult to qualify for. And this is the main reason why we have multiple different types of plans from TCCTA, is because the fact is 73% of all long-term care is provided in a home by informal caregivers who give no compensation. So think about your current situation now. Say you're in your 50s and you've got elderly parents that may need care. Well, if they needed care and didn't have some type of a long-term care plan, that may mean that you have to cut back your teaching and be able to take care of them, which impacts your income and your future earning potential, things like that. So the sacrifices of multi-generations for long-term care can be great. And that's why TCCTA has stepped up to the plate to offer multiple plans through AMBA that can provide you or your parents coverage to protect your assets, to protect their assets, and be taken care of how they want to. And you can provide them with professional care and keep working to keep your earning potential as well. So the solution is have someone else pay for your care. And that's through a long-term care plan. And there are all different types of long-term care plans. Some cover 3 years, 5 years, lifetime of coverage. Some of them are shorter periods of time, but they supplement your out-of-pocket expenses. They help you pay for those long-term care expenses. They protect your assets. Again, you've worked all your career. Now's the time to protect those assets. But most important to me is it keeps you connected to things that matter most. In the early years of my father's dementia, we were able to provide through the long-term care plan someone who could stay at home with him while my stepmother worked. And so that made sure that he was in a familiar environment, but he was also safe. So a good long-term care plan can do that for you. The stay-at-home benefits, they don't have to necessarily be a home health care skilled nurse, but they can help with light housekeeping, meal prep, personal tasks like bathing and dressing, maybe then provide for a visiting nurse. But the thing I like about most plans, you can get special equipment, pool bars, things like that, modify your home to stay at home, as opposed to having to go to a nursing home facility with a good plan that can do that for you. And you have your choice of benefits. You can choose to get cash right up front the minute you qualify or the minute the doctor says that you need long-term care. You can pay for it for whatever you need for it. Or you can get a reimbursement, which is in the case of my father, where once he moved into a nursing home, he was reimbursed, or the nursing home facility was sent a check every month from the long-term care plan, all the way up to the maximum of his policy. So again, you have lots of choices with TCCTA and AMBA with the plans that are out there. These plans protect not only you, but your family, your parents, your children, your grandchildren, that type of thing as well, because the long-term care need can greatly impact generations over a long period of time. Now, there are some other unique ways that you can pay for long-term care. And one of them is to use life insurance policy, where it has some accelerated benefits in there that you can use to pay for long-term care. Certain plans provide those benefits. I'd highly encourage you to have Deanna and her team review those. Some of them have living benefits in a life insurance policy. Usually your group life insurance through the school does not have that coverage, but if you have a plan outside, it may allow you to take it up to half of your face amount of your policy to pay for long-term care while you're alive. But usually it's just for nursing home, not for care in your house. Then there is a TCCTA tax endorsed asset protection plan. And this is something that Deanna and I are big fans of because it allows you to save money for retirement. It allows you to participate in the increases in the stock market, but without any drop with the way the stock market's going right now that would lose any money. So, you've got a steady stream of income when you're ready to retire, but it has long-term care benefits inside the policy that if you need long-term care, you can double your benefit, you can pull more money out without penalties, things like that. So because of my father's dementia and family history, it's hard for me to qualify for long-term care. This is a route that I went, and it's endorsed by your association, and Deanna can help you out with you as well. There's some other neat ways that you can do this, especially as an active employee. If your school offers a health savings account, and that would be if you have a high deductible plan. If you have a health savings account, the federal government allows you to put money into that plan up to a certain limit each year. It grows tax-free, but you can also use that money to pay for a long-term care plan tax-free and receive the benefits tax-free. So it's really a cool way that the federal government said, hey, we realize that this long-term care situation is an acute need across the country, but we're going to encourage people to use pre-tax money to pay for a plan and save a significant amount of money on the taxes and do that through their health savings account. So I'd encourage you to contact Deanna about that as well. And then, as we mentioned, that lump sum cancer, heart attack, and stroke plan, you can use that to fund some of your care. We see that quite a bit because it's easier to qualify for. Maybe it just has a big lump sum for you as well. So it's a great way to protect your assets and to take care of you as well. Now, if you've got questions, drop those into Q&A. We'll be glad to answer those for you. I'll show you how to get a hold of Deanna in just a moment here. Just one last webinar next week. It's Wednesday, the 23rd. We're going to talk about the convention logistics. If you've never been down to the Galleria in Houston, Patrick and I can tell you there's a lot going on down there. There are big buildings, lots of shopping. We're going to show you where to park, where to register, all that kind of stuff that you know where you're coming to. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that best way to protect your nest egg and some of the 5 threats to that nest egg that you're saving up there. So it's at 2 o'clock. Sign up now. Take a look at it from the TCCTA website, as well as through emails that are coming out to you as well. So I'm going to wrap this up. If you've got questions, drop those into Q&A. If you'll take your smartphone and simply open up your smartphone camera, hover over that QR code, a little form will pop up. You can ask about reviewing your benefits. Deanna and her team can review your school benefits and help you understand what you have and don't have. But they can also talk to you about a cancer plan. They can talk to you about the wide variety of long-term care plans and ways that you can make it fit for you and your family. If you're joining me on your iPad or on your smartphone and you don't have access to your camera, simply email me at john.green@amba.info, and I'll leave this screen up. And that way you can email me. I'll be glad to get back with you, get Deanna and her team to contact you as well. So thank you for your time today. We look forward to seeing you on the 2nd, Patrick. I know that we're going to have a big group in Houston. We're ready to have everyone down there. Look forward to seeing you next week as we talk about the logistics of the convention. So everyone have a tremendous rest of your week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Take care. Yeah.